So this Friday night, Newcastle will take on Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. It's a huge game for Newcastle because a win could mean really drawing us back closer into that top four, even the top three race, you could argue, especially with Man United coming after the international break. So it's a huge, huge match. But one player I wanted to talk about in particular was Almiron, because before the Wolves game, there was quite a bit of talk about dropping him. I was sort of advocating it myself, if I'm honest, thinking that he'd kind of gone back to being a bit average and he'd lost his goal scoring touch and all that kind of thing. And I just really wanted to dig a little bit deeper into what Almiron has meant for us this season, because actually his goal against Wolves was obviously a winning goal. It got us 3 points. And it got me thinking, he's scored a heck of a lot of our goals this season. So just how important has Almiron been to Newcastle this season? Now, there's many ways that you can judge a player's value to a team, and goals is just one of them, of course. But Miggy has scored 30% of all our Premier League goals this season. So his contribution, just in sheer terms of numbers, is huge to our team, especially a team that doesn't really score that many goals. Now, we all know Almiron for years kind of didn't really score enough, and then this season he went on that purple patch and scored quite a lot of goals, got us some big results because of those goals. And then he kind of went back to normal, not scoring, and lots of talk was about, well, this is the real Miggy, isn't it? This is just what he does. He doesn't really, he's never going to be a regular scorer in the Premier League. Now, he scored against Wolves. I'm not saying that that's the start of another run. I hope it is, but there's no guarantee with him. But let's just look at where we'd be if he hadn't scored all of his goals. Now, what I did was I just looked at all the games he'd scored a goal in and worked out whether his goals were a goal that was a crucial goal, i.e. got us a point or 3 points. Now, when you take into account all of his goals that he scored, if you took them all away, we would actually be 9 points worse off than we currently are. We'd actually be level on points with Aston Villa, but above them on goal difference in 10th. So from that metric, it's absolutely huge what Almiron's contribution has been this season. And like I say, for a team that doesn't score many goals, at least he has scored them. So we can't fault him for that. Do we just have to accept with Almiron, in terms of goal scoring, that he's going to be inconsistent? He might be a player who scores a few goals and then goes on a run where he doesn't score. But there are positives to what he brings to the team as well in another way. So we know that his contribution to the team is huge. And we know that his work rate is unbelievable. We know that he never stops running. And I do actually just sort of wonder whether the sort of criticism of him and people feeling like he needed to be dropped for someone else is just because of the way Eddie Howe's team plays, with this constant pressing and kind of high intensity. I just wonder if Almiron just needs a rest. And the fact is we don't have a squad big enough to allow him that privilege of having a proper rest every now and then. Now, we're coming up to a time in the season where we've got a game against Forest and then an international break. Now, normally, can't stand international breaks, but this one could come at a really good time for Newcastle, just to give our players a breather ahead of what is a huge match against Man United after the international break. I've sort of just reanalysed how I've been feeling about him. You know, he has been a massive influential part of this season for us, and I think it is a bit easy to forget that sometimes as a fan. We can, even when we try not to be, we can be fickle, even though we don't mean to be. We're trying to be fair and reasoned and all that kind of stuff, but actually Almiron's impact on that team has been huge. In terms of goals and goals scored. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that the criticism of Almiron has been just, or do you think that it's been a bit unfair? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you really soon for another video.